Folks, Lions, Giants, tradition to do a preseason crossover. Let's do it.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Matt Dery, Locked On Lions, Patricia, Traina, Locked On Giants, second straight year that we will do a crossover, and we're doing a crossover. The Lions and Giants will meet up on Thursday night for what should be a very, very interesting, to say the least, football contest to open up the preseason. Of course, Locked On Lions and Locked On Giants, a little crossover edition, is brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs help you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Patricia in New Jersey for tomorrow night's game, was there the last 2 days. What's up, friend? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. A lot of action this week so far.
Yeah, so you ended up going to the joint practices. What was that like?
I went to expecting to see football practices, and I saw a bunch of what is it? MMAs is what it's called. A bunch of little fights and squabbles and stuff like that. It was hot, so I'm sure that had something to do with it. But it's interesting because Dan Campbell, the Lions head coach, said that he had a couple guys go rogue on them, and it got to the point where they actually cut short the second practice because they started fighting again. And as I'm sure you probably have heard by now, the NFL fined both teams $200,000 for violating, basically a rule that they had been warned, not just the Giants and Lions, but the whole league had been warned. If you're going to engage in joint practices, if you have fights, you're going to have to pay, and pay they will.
Yeah, no question about it. Thanks for making us, by the way, your first listen on Locked On Giants and Locked On Lions. Check us both out on our Locked On Lions and Locked On Giants YouTube channels as well. Follow Patricia on Twitter at Patricia_Traina and at Dery Speaks for me. I got to get that out of the way. Patricia here, $200,000 for both teams. I like this. I said this on Monday and I said it Tuesday. I thought it was ridiculous. And yes, I get it. You're finally going up against another opponent. You've been hitting each other for 2 weeks. Now you're in pads. It's hot. I get all that, but I just thought it got real excessive. Obviously yesterday, Malik Neighbors swiping at Kirby. Apparently Kirby Joseph was jawing at him first, but punches thrown is only going to lead to broken hands and broken wrists. And the Giants can't afford that. And certainly the Lions have a lot of really good players and better depth. But to me, football fights are dumb.
Yeah, and not to mention, if you do that in a game, guess what? You're not only going to get fined, you're going to probably get ejected,
right,
and you're going to hurt your team even more. So, look, I get it when it's hot out and you've got a ton of equipment on, weighing you down, and you're going through cardio. I get it. Your temper is a little shorter than probably normal, but you've got to have discipline. And you've got to be able to walk away. Now, what I will say about that, and I've said this on my show, I like that there was some spunk and some competitiveness in it. And that, when the Lions pushed at the Giants pushed back, because last year, if you remember, the two sides scrimmaged together and the Lions basically took the Giants' lunch money. But there is a fine line between, standing up and being tough and being just a thug. And I just thought that at times the practices bordered on thuggery when they got into those fights. So as you said, you don't want to see guys get hurt, and certainly you don't want to see them do stupid stuff, especially in a game when it can lead to an ejection or worse.
Tell me about the Malik Neighbors. Let's first talk about the physical stuff, because it seemed like he was throwing hands. Devin Singletary jumped in to help him out, which I saw Giant fans on Twitter love that. They're like, finally, we got somebody to step up and have our backs. But also on the field, Neighbors was a big problem against the Lions secondary in both days, wasn't he?
Oh, big time. Big time. Neighbors, one of the dangers, I think, when you bring in a high profile player, whether it be a draft pick, a trade acquisition, a free agent, is, you have high expectations, and you watch them go through the spring and the first part of training camp. They're going up against each other, and maybe in the back of your mind, you're saying, okay, is he as good as he looks? Or is it because the other side isn't as good? And, having seen Malik Neighbors go up against another team and he went up against mostly Arnold in the 2-day practices. And I believe he's your best cornerback. And Malik Neighbors basically over the course of the 2 days, I believe he caught 17 of 18 passes thrown his way. He had 2 long touchdown receptions and just was basically unstoppable. And, you throw in the spunk, I'm not sure exactly what happened. I did see him take a swipe at Joseph's head. I don't know what was said before that, and he didn't want to repeat it. But again, that's where the discipline has to come in, because you can't be, starting stuff like that. But yet, Brian Dable likes the dog in him. And I just think that, they got to find a way to curtail it a little bit, but still allow the guy to be who he is. And I don't know. I just think that's going to be a big challenge for them.
You just said something interesting. You said Terrion Arnold could be the Lions' best cornerback. That is a good question, because Carlton Davis is certainly the most seasoned and a veteran that they went out and traded for, and they're paying a pretty penny to be there. I think they're number one guy, but it's a brand new secondary. Now that Emmanuel Mosley is hurt, Terrion Arnold is going to be out there. I mean, Brian Branch moving to safety, didn't get a ton of work in 11-on-11s, but this is what's going to be kind of interesting, and we'll get into this a little bit later on, but it'll be interesting to see what the rotation looks like just in a preseason game, and whether a guy like Terrion Arnold will even play in the first preseason game, because the rookies want to get out there, but you also want to not put your best guys out there and possibly have them get injured. So that will be something interesting. What do you think of Terrion Arnold, by the way, watching him in person?
Yeah, I think he's a good cornerback. I mean, very aggressive, plays fast. From what I could see, and I only saw the Lions defense one of the 2 days because I tried to rotate between the two fields. Didn't seem like he made a whole lot of mistakes that were blatant at any rate. But you make a good point. The Lions secondary has been revamped. It's a new secondary. There's some question marks there, and you just got to see how it all plays out. But I think Arnold's, I thought he was good. I mean, like I said, some of the other cornerbacks, I think they had some more struggles with some of the other Giants receivers. Arnold, held his own for the most part. I mean, it was just really Neighbors that gave him trouble.
Patricia, Traina, Locked On Giants, Matt Dery, Locked On Lions. We're doing a special crossover. We're not even supposed to do these crossovers. Well, we're not going up again. Ross Jackson's not going to get mad at us. David Locke's not going to get mad at us, but this is a tradition. 2 years in a row now, Patricia and I have hooked up to chat about what's going to happen in this preseason game and the joint practices. I heard too, Patricia, Brian Burns impressive both days and really did a good job against Taylor Decker, got around him a few times. Did you see the same thing? Because I thought that was obviously a very important pickup for the Giants this year, this offseason.
Yeah, definitely. Brian Burns had himself a good 2 days. He during the one-on-one drills, I was watching that yesterday, and he was basically, it didn't matter who he went up against, he was winning his battles. I saw him in the backfield during team drills, and at one point he had his ankle rolled up and he limped off the field, and he sat down on the side, called the trainer over. The trainer retaped his ankle, and I thought, that's it, he's done for the day. Went right back out there after getting taped up, and he was still getting into the backfield with that explosive quickness that he has. So, just an incredible addition. I think he's going to do wonders for the Giants pass rush this year with Kayvon Thibodeau and then Dexter Lawrence in front of him. And I'm really excited to see how he's deployed.
Final thing on the 2 days. Did you get a sense? Did you watch and sit there? Let's say you were just a neutral observer. Could you tell, all right, one of these teams looks like a Super Bowl contender and the other doesn't? Was there a big gap in your mind?
Actually, no. I thought the Giants, again, I go back to last year when the Lions simply outclassed the Giants, I think, in every possible way.
Yeah.
This year, the Giants stood toe to toe with them. They really did. I mean, I'm not saying it was, that one side necessarily beat the other, but to see the Giants, who basically last year were beaten and left for dead, come back and have such swagger, have such confidence, have such spirit. I mean, that was like, whoa, what are we watching here? Is this the Giants from last year? No, it's a brand new team with a new attitude. And, I was just really happy with what I saw. And I think Giant fans were happy with what they saw.
Anybody else real fast from Detroit that stood out for you these 2 days? Just a name or two?
Well, from a negative perspective, I thought Hendon Hooker didn't have a very good day yesterday. He was all over the place with the ball, but, really, I mean, I wasn't really focused per se on the Lions,
I get
one
it. Oh,
specific
yeah.
guy or anything like that. But, their run game, I will say this, their run game against the Giants run defense, which has been a problem for the Giants for the longest time now. The Lions were able to move the ball on the ground. Jamar Gibbs with some nice long runs off the edges there. I mean, Giant defenders were getting sealed off. So, take heed on that maybe the run game will be successful in this preseason game. But yeah, other than that, I just thought a lot of it was a draw, or in some cases, maybe the Giants got the slight edge, or some cases the Lions got the slight edge. But I'll tell you one matchup I was really pleased with, because I thought this was going to be a disaster. The Lions defensive front against the Giants offensive line. Now, everybody knows the Giants offensive line has not been good for the better part of the last decade plus actually. And they held their own against a very, very good Lions defensive front. So that was nice to see.
Matt and Patricia with you, Locked on Lions, Locked on Giants, doing a little crossover. Coming up next, we're going to talk about what to watch for Thursday night in preseason game number 1. That is coming up next. But first, Locked on Lions, Locked on Giants, brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Looking for tickets for the Meadowlands. You want to go to the preseason game? Why not get them on the Game Time app? Now, they're also an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets for baseball games, Yankees and Mets on the New York side, and of course, Tiger games here, faster and easier. But prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, and the closer it gets to kickoff for tomorrow night's Lions and Giants game. They got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Seriously, all of it is great with Game Time because they're not going to mess around with pricing for you. You're going to see it right there, right up front on your phone. It's very easy to work on. And the lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. I love that view from your seat. You get that panoramic view from the seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly where you are sitting. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Locked on Giants host Patricia Traina, Locked on Lions, me, Matt Dery, with you on a little special preseason crossover Thursday night, 7 o'clock for the G-Men and the Lions. What to watch for, Patricia? I guess I'll start for the Locked on Giants listeners. You said it, and viewers, you said it. The Hendon Hooker, Nate Sudfeld situation, backup quarterback, is something that I think Lion fans are taking a good long look at tomorrow night because Jared Goff's not going to play, and Lions need to determine who that backup quarterback is and if that guy is on the roster right now. So I think that is definitely something to watch. We talked about before the cornerback situation. What's the rotation going to be like for a game like this? And I also think the wide receiver depth that the Lions have after Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Khalif Raymond, no one knows what it is. Is it Donovan Peoples-Jones? Is it Antoine Green? Is it one of the UDFAs, a Tom Kennedy, Doris Fountain? So I think that the Lions are going to take a good long look at a lot of these receivers, and I think they're going to throw the ball more because they need to see what the quarterbacks are doing. They know they can run, and they need to see what these receivers are up to. And of course, the kicking situation. I don't know how many kickers the Giants have, but Lions might need one of those because right now it's one, Jake Bates, who only has kicked in the UFL. And I think the Lions are waiting on someone to get cut from another team to bring them in. They've been patient with it, but that's something to certainly watch Thursday night in the swamps of the Meadowlands. How about for the Giants?
Yeah, so Brian Dable has not said what his plans are, but based on history now, I have to think that because a lot of the starters got some quality work over the last couple of days and haven't really had days off. Daniel Jones, for example, he's taken every rep. We probably will not see Daniel Jones. We probably won't see Andrew Thomas, a left tackle. Kayvon Thibodeau, we might not see. We might not see Brian Burns. Probably a few other guys. So really for the Giants, it's going to be about depth, sorting out some of the question marks that they have. Now, on the starting front, the starting cornerback 2 opposite of Deonte Banks has to be resolved. The Giants went into the preseason with Cordell Flott penciled in there. Cordell Flott has been inconsistent, so Nick McLeod has mixed into that rotation there. So who's going to be that CB2, or is that CB2 even on the roster? We don't know yet. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. The running back rotation, who's going to be RB2 behind starter Devin Singletary? I think Tyrone Tracy right now has the lead, but Eric Gray is looking to make, to rise up the chart, so to speak. The bottom of the receivers, I think you can say that the first 4 receivers are set for the Giants. So special teams, the kickoff return rule especially, that's going to sort some things out for receivers, as well as, some of the other depth on the team. But really for the Giants, I think a real big question is, who's going to end up playing defensive line next to Dexter Lawrence? They've been trying out Boogie Basham. They've been trying out Ryder Anderson. They've been trying out Raheem Nunez-Roches, Jordan Phillips. So who's going to be that 3-tech guy for the Giants? I think that's something they're going to take a look at as well.
So you mentioned if Daniel Jones does not play, what's the QB rotation going to look like in your mind then?
Well, I think it's going to be Drew Lock to start, and then Tommy DeVito will probably, finish it up.
Boy. Oh.
Yeah. Tommy Cutlets. So yeah, I mean,
oh God, well, that'll be half the broadcast now. Jason Ross and Golden Tate on the Lions broadcast. That'll be all they can talk about.
Yeah, no,
Forgot about that.
I mean, the Giants, they got to decide if they're going to keep 2 quarterbacks on the roster or 3. They have never kept 3 with Dable as the head coach. Matter of fact, I can't think of the last time they kept 3 on the opening day roster because they just haven't had the room for it. But, if Tommy Cutlets goes out there and he lights it up, going to be awfully hard to not keep him, because now if you put him on waivers, somebody will pick him up. So I do think, Drew Lock will get the majority of the snaps. If I had to guess, maybe it makes sense to give Lock the first half and DeVito the second half, but I don't know if that's how Dable has it planned.
Here's what I'm going to do, Patricia. We're going to have some fun. If Sudfeld and Hooker just suck all preseason and DeVito looks good, but like you said, maybe Drew Lock looks good. We know Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes is your guy, albeit that's a sports talk radio. That's always a good bit on FAN if he's good or not, but he's being paid so much money, you can't get rid of him. Maybe I should just could do like a Detroit Tommy DeVito thing. Like that would be fun for the fans. I'm sure you got tired of it last year because he wasn't that good, but he was fun and he had that agent with the hat on. And
yeah, Sean Stellato, good guy. I had him on my show. He's a good guy. He really
did. You really? Oh,
yes,
yeah,
I did.
You did
yes,
actually.
I
yes,
did.
I remember that last year.
Yeah, good guy. Does a lot of stuff for the community and stuff like that. But you know what? God bless him. He works so hard, he's enjoying life. So who am I or anybody to deprive him and say, what are you doing, dude? So good for him. Look, with Tommy DeVito, his story caught fire because he's a local kid. He kept the Giants' very slim playoff hopes alive last year. A local kid done good, so to speak, blue collar family. His father is a plumber. And good for him. Look, nobody expected that out of him. Matter of fact, when he was, I remember last year watching him after he was signed, undrafted free agent. And I remember saying, oh my God, this guy's never going to make it to training camp because he was bad. And he got better and better and better. And even when the season it started last year, I said, okay, he's going to sit on the practice squad. We won't see him. They're going to develop him. Well, then they had the injuries, so they had no choice. And Brian Dable's a firm believer in, okay, we got a guy on the roster, so let's just, he knows the system. Let's bring him up and see what he can do. And he was good enough to hold off a couple of other guys who had the Buffalo connection previously with Dable. So that, to me, was a feather in Tommy DeVito's cap.
Will be certainly interesting to see how this thing plays out, certainly tomorrow night. Don't expect to see, like you said, a lot of the starters, and that's just kind of how all these coaches have done it. When we come back, though, let's discuss some players that maybe are on the bubble. Maybe the Lions could pluck away from the Giants. We did this last year. Maybe vice versa, that maybe the Giants could look up and say, look, when I might need a running back, I got a name for Giant fans. We'll do that coming up next. Matt Dery, Patricia Traina telling you about Locked On Lions and Locked On Giants, brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Seriously, post your job on LinkedIn. It is very easy. And you have that purple hiring tab around your photo there, and people know right away you're hiring, and they're going to click even more. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively searching for a new job might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. If you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats, might not have the time or resources to hire. That's why you got to check out what they offer for you. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Locked On Lions, Locked On Giants, little Wednesday crossover, getting ready for Thursday's game down in New Jersey, or up in New Jersey, if we're talking Michigan and New Jersey. I don't know. When was the last time you were in Michigan, Patricia? You ever come visit us here?
Yeah, I have, and I can't. It was a long time ago.
All right.
So I think you're kind of north, a little north of East
I guess,
Rutherford.
yes, I would say
I
it is
think
north.
so. If I remember, and my geography is correct.
If I'm ever in New York or New Jersey, it's always Joe's Pizza for me in Times Square. I just think that's a great slice. I don't know what you think, but I'm telling you, if I'm there, that's where I'm going. You
Okay,
like?
fair enough. I have my place. I have my places in New Jersey that I like. So
I love it. Can you give me a name of one, please?
Yeah, there's I believe it or not, I'm a big fan of thin crust pizza. I love thin crust.
Yes.
So there's a place called Chimney Rock Inn that makes a really good thin crust pizza. They're in the Basking Ridge area.
Got it.
And I just think their pizza's really good. So every time I go up for a doctor's appointment up that way, I always tell my husband, we're going to stop off there because I want their pizza. So
nice. I love it. I love it. All right. So some names to watch that might be on the bubble. I would have said this if John Kaminsky would have been healthy for this game, and obviously he's going to be out likely most of the season with an injury, but he was a guy that was kind of on the bubble that if the Giants were looking at, all right, D tackle, D end, added depth, that would have been one guy that I was ready to tell you about that I said, hey, listen, he might play well, but he might not make the team. I mean, the Lions have a deep roster. Another name you mentioned was running backs and people after Singletary. Jamar Jefferson is an interesting name to watch. If he has a really good game, but you got to remember the Lions have Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Craig Reynolds, who they really like, and they drafted Sione Vaki. They keep 5 running backs, fine. Jefferson may be there, but that could be a name to watch that might slip through the cracks and they can't keep, that maybe the Giants would pounce on. How about on your side?
Running backs, I think the Giants are okay on. I think you got to look at receivers. The Giants have a nice little collection of receivers. So one guy that I think might end up not making the final cut, Isaiah Hodgins.
Oh, yeah.
Who a couple of years ago, he came in, off the streets from Buffalo, and he kind of stepped right in when all the injuries were happening, and he was pretty good for them. Now, last year, didn't really get as many opportunities. So I've got to wonder, what his future is with this team. I'm not so sure it's good, but look, Isaiah Hodgins is still a very good receiver. Doesn't really give you much on special teams, but if you're looking for a good third receiver, something like that, second, third receiver, he might be able to give you, a nice threat on the outside. Offensive line. Now I know people are going to say, well, the Giants need to keep all the offensive linemen they have, but a guy that I think could be phased out is a draft pick from a couple of years ago, Joe Shane's first draft, and that's Marcus McKeithen, who gives you guard tackle flexibility. Now, we have to see, obviously, what happens with the swing tackle because, right now, I don't know exactly who's going to be the swing tackle for the Giants. Right now, Evan Neal is on PUP, which is a problem, but I could see where Marcus McKeithen might end up, not making the cut. Also, I'm wondering which of the backup centers, the Giants signed Greg Van Roten last week, and here he is. They plugged him in at center. He was originally signed to play guard, but because John Michael Schmitz can't get out there, Van Roten's playing center. So now what of Jimmy Morrissey and Austin Schlottman, two guys who can play center and who were signed to play center, but have lost snaps on the first team to Van Roten. So that would be on that side. Then on the defensive side, I think the Giants have a bit of a logjam at inside linebacker. Bobby Okereke is going to be, the starter, one of the starters. He's a rock. Micah McFadden was his partner in crime last year, but he's been kind of hurt and coming along slowly. Deontay Johnson has really looked good. He's gotten first team reps. So is it possible that maybe he passes Micah McFadden on the depth chart and McFadden becomes expendable? Then behind them, you've got the 6th round pick this year, Darius Malasso. You've got Darian Beavers. Isaiah Simmons is technically listed as an inside linebacker. So they got depth at that position, but I don't think they've got enough room for all those guys. And I didn't even mention Carter Coughlin, who's primarily a special teamer, who's also part of that inside linebacker group. So that's got to be sorted out. And then, like I said, cornerback, what are they going to do there? I just don't feel like they've got the answer on the roster right now. But who knows? Maybe over the course of these next 3 games, one of these young guys will step up, and now they'll go from, the guys that I think might be on the bubble will go to being a little bit more solidified. So a lot of interesting stuff. And to your point about kicker, yes, the Giants have 2 kickers on the roster, but one of them's got an exemption, Jude McIntyre, who's international. He's from Ireland. So actually by way of Rutgers University, my alma mater. So Jude McIntyre, he's going to be on the roster for the Giants, but he's going to be on the practice squad on an exemption. So sorry, can't help you there.
No. And linebacker for the Lions is loaded. So that's, I don't think the Lions would pluck anybody away. I think they like where they are there. Yeah, you're right. It's going to be interesting watching Jake Bates kick tomorrow night, because as I said, I think they're waiting. The one thing with Brad Holmes, and I say this on my show almost every day, they just have not had a lot of consistency there. But the pre-Holmes era was Matt Prater or Jason Hansen. I mean, they had guys for days that were always reliable. Eddie Murray before that. They just haven't been able to find that one guy. But Patricia, appreciate it. This was a lot of fun Thursday night. Look, I know it's preseason and a lot of the regulars aren't going to play, but it's football. It's back. And I'm sure you'll be excited to be in the stadium tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Patricia, Traina, thank you. Matt Dery from Locked On Lions. Patricia, Traina, Locked On Giants, a little special crossover edition on a Thursday. Back again tomorrow. Please make us your first listen. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe and watch us each and every day on our Locked On Lions and Locked On Giants YouTube channel.